Season 1, Chapter 3, Make the Unsafe Choice.
Welcome to Starting Now, a Barry podcast, presented by Cinemasins.
This is Starting Now, the Barry podcast. This is Chris Atkinson with Barrett Share and Mike Hester. We're going to talk about this episode here, episode 3 of Barry.
Yeah.
This is a good episode.
This is a good episode, man. To me, this episode is almost like you're a Game of Thrones person. Are you a Game of Thrones person?
No, I'm not a Game of Thrones
You're like me.
person.
You're watching the last season.
I'm just watching the last season.
Okay.
It's fun.
But there are classically in Game of Thrones episodes that just set the pieces in place, right? That kind of move the plot and get people in position to where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird parallel to make to Barry, but I think this episode really sets the picture for what it can get away with later on in the series, because you have the development of these characters. You have Barry, his shell on full display and his abilities on full display. You have Sally starting to show her true colors, which I really want to talk about later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have now Henry Winkler and Detective Moss starting to come together. Cousineau, I should say, not Henry Winkler.
Mm-hmm.
And, you start up setting up the mystery and things like that. You see a lot of development in this. And this is the last episode in this season that Bill Hader directed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of marks the end of here's our fully formed cake. Yeah. Now we can ice it and we can do whatever the fuck we want to with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at the beginning of this, Barry is going to try to kill this Paco dude.
Yes, in full Grosse Point Blank outfit too.
Yes,
yeah.
He's on the middle of a hill with like a thrown out couch and, and all that, and he's ready. This is one of Bill Hader's best performances, because you finally get to see a lot of like anger coming out. So NoHo Hank calls him up and says, "We sent a bullet by DHL to the Bolivians to give this is something we've wanted to do forever. Please wait until they've seen the bullet before you kill him." And so meanwhile, Paco comes out and he's like stretching. And there's that whole point where, and this is the first time I think Barry's even sworn in this whole series. He's like, "Fuck you."
Oh, man, he unloads on Hank.
Yeah.
And Hank loves it.
Yeah. Hank's oblivious.
He's like, it's like endearing to him. Like, I like this guy.
It's such an unusual character. We talked about it, a few times before, but like, what character does that? Where it's just like, we've been workshopping this bullet idea for a while, so this is really going to be something special for us. And he's like, "What grade am I in?" And he's just like, "Battery, it's okay." I guess it's because he holds all the cards, like he knows that he's got Fuches and he can basically tell him whatever. But he's also sending like cat memes of like, "Hang in there, buddy," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just the way that these two interact. I want to come back to how Barry interacts with him later on, because I think there's some weird elements to that relationship.
He has this like warm and fuzzy feeling about being evil and being this gangster person. It's like, this is so nice. And he's mad at me because he's a hitman. That's okay. I like this. This is good.
And then he ultimately just says, "Well, we still have your friend here, so you might as well go ahead and wait like we told you to," and all that. So yes, his friend Fuches is in the garage, and Goron goes to Hank and says, "Guess who are we getting to come here?" And they're getting this guy named like Stovka.
Yes.
Stovka, who's played by a great character actor you've seen in a million things. His name's Larry Hankin. He was the guy who played the actor Kramer in Seinfeld. He played the guy who was underneath the apartment in Friends.
Yep.
Kept on hitting the broom and everything when they got too loud. And he's in Billy Madison as Carl.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, he's so recognizable. Because I saw fake Kramer instantly as soon as he walked in. And I was like, holy shit, that's that guy.
Yeah.
And one of the best gags, I think, of the whole thing, this is a funny episode, maybe the funniest episode so far, overtly. And one of the funniest things is when Fuches is like, he's trying to talk him out of it. He's like, how old of a guy are you? He's very old.
Yeah.
And he's like, 45. And Fuches immediately goes, whoa. Oh, yeah, sure. That sounds great.
Yeah.
But I love that Goran has basically said, you're going to kill Fuches, you're going to kill Barry after the Barry does his job. And later on, I just love the delivery. Fuches says, there is a version of this where you don't have to do that. It just cracks me up. The deliveries, you're talking about how hilarious it is. There's so many lines like that are just perfectly delivered. So
I'd like to know a little bit of Fuches's backstory, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
me
they
too.
will at some point.
In the second season, it looks like we're about to get there, maybe, possibly. But Stovka ends up killing himself, and Goran comes in, and he looks at Fuches, who is obviously tied, and
He's
has
got that crazy
has
contraption,
that big brace over his neck and everything, and he goes, "What did you do?"
But we get there, and in this episode to see, like, Fuches can just talk his way out of stuff. He is going to die. There are multiple reasons why they want to kill him. And in this scene, good things happen for him, and then it continues to go forward to where he gets his way out of it. It's incredible.
Yeah. And this is a great acting performance from Stephen Root again. That scene where he's still got the brace around his neck or whatever that's keeping him from moving, and he's at the dinner table, and he's like reaching out to get that champagne or whatever it is, the Chardonnay.
It's genius.
And he's just like, yeah.
It's genius because he reaches out and he's like, can't do it. Pulls the placemat back to him just casually and takes a drink. What did drive me insane about this is that he's chewing on that steak after they filed his teeth down.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had tooth surgery and tried to chomp on anything.
Yeah.
Oh man, that killed me. But he's obviously starting to talk his way into Goran's heart.
Yeah.
And how
again, as the pattern of the show is that every time Barry's about to get out of a situation, Fuches ends up fucking it up.
Yep.
And so in this case, the whole episode, Barry thinks, I kill Paco, I'm done. The whole episode. Meanwhile, though, there is a break in the action of him killing Paco, and he's got an alert on his phone that says, "Hey, acting class." And he's like, "Well, maybe I can use this to just go to acting class while we wait."
Out. Yeah. Good for him.
And the acting class is this exercise where the person is supposed to make you feel like, you're supposed to feel like you're in their space or some personal thing. Like the one guy does goes into his old kid's room or whatever. Oh, here's my toy chest. It's like, why are my sister's dolls in here? And
okay, we've seen enough.
Yeah, but the one Sally does is so good. It's so funny.
Oh,
man.
It's great.
She's like, I'm in the zoo with my kid who's 14, is the age that I had him, and then we go to the 8-pit, and Henry Winkler Cousineau comes up, and he's like, what do you see in this 8-pit? Apes. And then Barry, of course, is an absolute complete novice and can't come up with anything.
It's almost like he doesn't have a favorite soup.
Yeah.
He's been talking to him about soup, and he's never even considered what are my favorite foods or whatever. He's that empty of a person. And I know some of that's probably because he's on a stage and that's weird, but it's like he hasn't, either that's been shut down or he hasn't developed it. And that comes up later again at the end of the episode with the daydream. But you just see what an empty kind of shell of a person he is and how hard it is to come out of that.
Well, it's also, these acting exercises that they do, again, in my very, very limited experience, I've seen exercises like this, visual exercises, right? And they're probably more difficult than we give them credit for. To where you have to literally visualize yourself And it's hilarious that Cousineau's now so experienced that he's like, what do you see in the grocery store? Gum. And he's like, gum's in the in the checkout, man. What do you see in the aisle? Because he's already visualizing this.
That he says it's sold out, and he says something like it's been sold. He's like, bullshit, it's been sold. That's not the truth.
Oh my God, he's poking the bear so much, and he just can't get it out. He's like, take your hands out of your pocket, put them back on here, and there's this whole dichotomy which you're in and you don't really think about, but like if you step back, he's talking to a mass murderer that has no feelings whatsoever, and that if the right person, talked him into it, he would kill him. But he's just absolutely lambasting this guy, talking down to him, putting him down to try to get some sort of performance out of him.
Going to where Mike's saying about the empty vessel thing, we will see later on that he really does require an actual experience to get into an acting mode.
Yeah.
And it's not really acting at that point. It's just reliving an experience at that point. And I know that's an acting technique. However, he really needs that. He can't even find something that's kind of like something to get him into that state. He has to have he would have actually had to been in a grocery store and made this decision before in his life.
I know. It's almost like has he not been in the grocery store that often? I get the feeling maybe not so much.
I'm guessing he hasn't.
Maybe he like gets his food out of a 7-Eleven or something.
yeah.
Seriously.
Possible. Can we talk about Sally?
Yeah.
Sarah Goldberg had a really good episode, I think, because this is not manic pixie dream girl that she's been set up to be really in the first 2 episodes. Like, she's been in the service of Barry, essentially, for this first 2 episodes, like helping him integrate to their journey. And so she's first shown at this kid's party where she gets a call from her kind of agent, which I didn't realize was a thing, but I guess is probably very much a thing. And it's a great gag where she's like, let the princess spin. And she's like, 1, 2, 21, and she's talking to, and eventually she's like 24. She don't goes out of the picture. She's like, shit. Oh, sorry. But yeah, so she gets this call from the agent, and it's almost like at this point in the series so far, that's where her character really turned, right? It became, oh, maybe this is a reality. I don't know if she's ever gotten an audition before or anything like this before. But at this point, she's manipulating Barry essentially into taking her to the audition. She feels manipulated when she gets to the audition. And after the audition, when she doesn't do very well, she tries to manipulate Barry even more by saying, make this about me, even though you've got to do whatever. I want this to be about me. And it really sets her up for the next several episodes, if not for the rest of the series so far, as being, before it was like, join our team, we'll help you, that kind of thing. Now it's all about her.
Yep. Now that she's had a chance to get away from this acting class, there's a way that she might become a star even, or a working actress.
My question is, do we like this character turn that she's making?
Yes.
You do?
I think so. It starts to show the disappointments that she's had, where she meets this person, that Liv, I think was her name, that she was ahead of in this, was it a web series, Bonnie and the Boston Bombers?
It's terrible. It's like, and she's like, it's tragic. I mean, both things were tragic.
Both things, of course. Both things, of course.
Of course. But then, no, so she's devastated because now this woman is the lead. She actually bought the zoo. And you don't know, is she really doing this as a friend to have her, someone that she knew to come in and audition for the role, or is she just trying to show off? Probably some of both, I'm guessing.
Is that what you kind of got from that?
I got kind of both. Like, I think of this person, but I'm leaning toward showing off more. But
I don't know where
I don't know.
We have this perspective from Sally, though, and as we have seen in her character in the next all the way up into the second season, she tends to bend the truth quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's
a very good point.
I think that this Liv person really, I think she did genuinely want her to come in.
Yeah.
it's just that the fact that the lives is so awful in everybody else's eyes, or at least her eyes.
Yeah, in Sally's eyes, yeah.
And especially because she continues to gossip about her afterwards to Barry on the phone, that it sounds like, maybe you think that you built this up in your head that she's got this type of attitude, but really it's just because you don't like her or you feel threatened by her and
or jealous of her.
Yeah, and that's what you just figure, well, she thinks like I do, so therefore she's did this on purpose, and I don't think we'll ever know unless they come back with that character.
But that makes a lot of sense because she is a deeply insecure person.
Yes.
And that is really what we're seeing here, and it continues on later on into this season. So, yeah, okay, you've kind of convinced me.
She is deeply insecure. I'm sorry. The reason that this seemed unusual to me is that I guess her insecurities didn't come out that much in those first 2 episodes. And a lot of those first 2 episodes is world building. It's not really about her. But she seemed like she was centered, like she knew who she was. She knew she was the best of the class. She was trying to get better in her craft, and she was trying to integrate Barry into it too. That's why, and it's a very natural and it's a very human thing. I'm not saying anything about the writing. I think it's great, the turn that she made. It's just that all of a sudden, like from this audition, she takes a turn that doesn't make me, I understand her character, but it doesn't make me like her very much.
I keep thinking about the first episode. The first time we see her, she's on stage with Cusino, and she's not getting there. She's not really in the stage. And he comes up and just insults her and gets her to a raw place. And when she's about to get mad, he stops her and says, okay, go. Mm-hmm. She has to get past some bullshit that she has, the insecurity or whatever, to get to that good acting place.
Yeah.
And that really holds her back. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the theme of her character.
Is it this episode or the next one where Cusino does the exact same thing to Barry, to where he gets him frustrated, gets him rattled to where he wants to let him loose? It's the next one,
yeah. Yeah, because the next one is the Glengarry Glen Ross.
I can't wait till that.
But just to finish up Sally, because we got a lot more actually to cover, but like for Sally, like towards the end of this episode, she says, I don't want to be alone tonight, right? And then all of a sudden, boner happens, and like Barry's got to go, right? And that's the point where it was like, it is totally all about me. And throughout the whole phone conversation on the way over there, that's when she's talking about this maybe invented narrative about Liv and all that. And, she's chugging wine and all that stuff. And she, as soon as he gets there, she's like, am I a star? Or you think I can be a star? And of course, he's like, yeah. And she jumps his bones, and that's it.
Yeah, it's all about validation for her.
Yeah.
Really, and that's the thing I think throughout the whole episode, that if you watch closely, neither of them are listening to each other.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. There's a point where because we sympathize with Barry when Barry starts talking about, like, when she calls and he's still on that couch. And he's like, yeah, this mammoth thing that did blah, blah, blah. And she goes right into something else and doesn't even pay any attention. And he tries to do it again at her audition, and it doesn't work. And then there's a point where she's on the phone and he's in the car, and he's talking to her, and another call comes in, and mid sentence he just goes to the other call and just starts talking, and then he comes back and she's talking about it. And that's why herpes is blah blah blah.
By the way, have you ever had that experience? Because I've had that experience. I've literally taken another call for a couple of seconds and then come back. Never knew that I was gone. I've had some bad girlfriends.
I real fast at the end of that, she's crying and he has to go back to work. I think it's very interesting. You see, just for a split second, that he's being followed, and he's being
from the guy with the giant,
the guy
camera?
with the giant thing, and is watching him, and that comes to play later on a little bit. But he didn't know, so.
He didn't know, and it's hilarious, of course, the sight gag of the giant camera.
And because the other girl watching him.
Because you think of these guys as being such professionals and everything, but he's got this fucking cannon. And he just sits back and eats.
But they set it up, and then the next episode, like, he should know that he's being followed. That's part of his job, and that's when we first see that he's not. And while he is in this other world, he's completely just forgetting all the things he needs to do to be a hitman. So.
But yeah, getting into, and we'll get to Paco in just a second, but just getting into that, that they're not listening to each other. That's the reason why them having sex here at the end is such a confusing thing for both of them.
Yep.
She's just looking for validation, and he's like, wow, this is finally a chance to get out of this. I can start my new life.
Yeah.
All that, because we see him dreaming about, going to the store with her and all that.
Yeah, I want to go into that when we get there. That was crazy.
I do like the fantasy sequence where they go down the aisle and everything is soup.
Everything is
What kind of soup do you want?
That made me think that this was a dream, because that's sort of dream logic where, crazy things happen that don't make any sense. When you daydream, you don't have that. And that's another thing that makes me think this guy might not have really paid any attention when he's been to a supermarket or whatever.
Yeah.
How would he not know that it's not that, and that there's not that much soup? It's an entire aisle just full of soup.
It's an interesting point. Maybe there is some like Eternal Sunshine type of things in these dream sequences.
Although I do
filled in.
think the sign says it's all soup.
Oh, yeah.
It says soup. Well, when you go to a supermarket, it'll have like three
Yeah.
things, and it'll be, soup, crackers.
But like
cookies,
when you
whatever.
look at the actual aisle, and I'm sure they took an actual grocery store or something like that, and there's there's cranberry juice and all sorts of other stuff in there. But would have been kind of interesting if they had put all soup. But
I thought it was more soup.
I just ruined the illusion.
No.
I'm sorry.
Calm down, Mike.
But I thought he's had sex with her one time, and he's already daydreaming about this wonderful, beautiful world.
Oh yeah,
So,
Yeah. and so the Paco thing, and this is where I think make the unsafe choice comes into play as far as his job is concerned. Is the unsafe choice is to get this done so that you can go on and do your other things. I think Cousineau even says, actually Cousineau, the Glengarry Glen Ross is when he yells at him for just following orders or whatever. So, but the safe choice is to wait all morning, like he's probably done millions of times, for Paco to come out and do all of his stupid stuff that he does, that he can just go ahead and shoot him and go on. But nope, he's got Sally on. He wants to get back to Sally. So he goes into the house, and it's only then that Paco even gets the message. About the bullet and everything. It's been a long time,
And somehow when he says DHL, it's funny.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
DHL, okay.
Yeah. He says it in Spanish too. DHL.
The other thing that's apparent right in this instance is that Barry sucks at sneaking up on people.
Yeah.
Like you can tell that he's a great, long distance killer and stuff like that. But this happens multiple times. Like he's just standing there in the hallway, and he doubles back, and he's like, what the fuck are you expecting? And he has no like short range weapon or anything like that, and ends up, it's very beautifully choreographed, this whole fight scene, especially given the hipster party, with people vaping and shit next door, and they don't really care.
They hear one little noise, and they're like,
Who cares?
Right. And he ends up strangling him.
I know.
Which is going to be a funny thing later on.
Yep.
Because they sent a bullet.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Spanish, he's saying, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this." He comes back to Sally. They have sex, and he says that Spanish phrase, and she's like, "That means you don't have to do this." And he goes, "Yeah, I guess I don't."
Yeah, what a weird juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
Because to him, it's not. This guy's pleading for his life, and it should be like a very cogent moment, right? But he's saying, "Oh yeah, I can probably get out of this," right?
Yeah.
He's making it like turning it into his advantage,
right?
Rather than like empathizing with this person.
Yeah, it's a message to him rather than really a plea that he's going to accept.
I thought it was real interesting, and in the second episode where he actually has to see Ryan Madison's dad and how unhappy he was and how that emotions affected him. But that really doesn't affect him with Paco at all. He has not thinking about kids or anything here. It's just like he's just able to just kill him and not the
kill Paco with all the confetti coming
and think more about just what I don't have to do this anymore, huh? And that's his emotional thing.
He's more thinking about that new life he's going to have, man. He's going to have that new life for sure once this happens.
And that's another theme that carries on throughout the season.
The reason why he doesn't have that new life is the discussion that Fuches and Goron have after Fuches goes in. They're in the kitchen and they're talking, and Goron tells him that the Bolivians have this awesome stash house that makes them so much money. And Fuches decides for Barry that he's going to go in and he's going to take the stash house, and then he's going to kill the main guy when that main guy comes down to deal with it. And so Barry's booked essentially at this point. So the whole I'm done with this thing is no, you're not. You're never done.
You're
Yep. Yeah, it's awesome when he's driving over to Sally's and he takes that call from Hank in the middle of that diatribe. He's like, "It's done. Release Fuches." And
but it is the thing. He thinks that that's what's going to happen in his mind. Because originally he was going to go kill Paco, and then they were going to kill him and Fuches. So the only way that he stays alive is that Fuches does all of this stuff, which is kind of the dynamic of Fuches as this horrible, evil person and also the person who's kind of saved him. And it comes out again and again. So you mentioned earlier, Chris, about Q-Snow hitting on Janice Moss.
Oh, yes.
And I don't think we got into that because I just wanted to bring that back up. Because
my
that
God.
scene was awesome.
This scene is probably one of the funniest things ever. Just in general. He comes in and talks to Janice is just in her office and behind the desk, and he just comes in and he's like, "I want to tell you something. I've been on a lot of ride-alongs, and you check all the boxes."
And who the fuck are you supposed to be?
What the fuck are you supposed
to be?
Oh my God.
I run this place.
Yeah, I run this place.
You fall in love with both of those characters right there. But I guess maybe the last thing I don't want to say is the whole interview process, because they interview everybody in the acting class, right? And it's a nice cutaway, direct shot scenes and all that stuff. And one of my favorite sneaky characters is Nick. Nick is the guy that had the toy box and all that stuff, the overactor. And I love his performance of this because I think you have to be a really good actor to act that badly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's got this, he could have been like anybody else. They're like, "Oh, I'm a barista, I'm a whatever," that kind of thing. But he does this thing where, "Can I get some water here?" And he just gulps down the entire thing. And it shows the full shot. And she's like, "Are you nervous?" He's like, "No. Can I have some more?" That guy is fantastic. But it does kind of show them their unique personalities as they're going through these interviews.
Yeah, but you can see also what everybody sort of believes they are too. The one girl, and I can't remember her name, the character name, but she says that she did a web series.
Oh, Sasha. Yeah.
And then she's like, "No, well, it was a YouTube video, and it's got 200 and something views."
That's right.
But the one, somebody, she says, "I'm an actress and a barista." When it gets to Sally, she's like, "I'm an actress."
Yep.
And then it cuts on to the next thing because everybody's kind of gotten. They identify themselves as not yet an actor, like just that.
Yeah, the guys, I'm a course manager. Curves.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. This is just such an excellent episode. So funny all the way through. So many tiny little nuances in it and everything. It's definitely up to this point the best episode of the series.
Oh, you think? Yeah, I think you can make it's got all of the comedy and world building, so to speak, and character development that we've been kind of building to this whole time. Yeah, I agree. What do you think? You like it, Mike?
Oh, I loved it. I might lean toward the pilot. I don't know, but that's just I like the first time we see everybody. But that's kind of my prejudices.
There's going to be some candidates in the future too.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to say. The last song, I looked into the songs. The in song is by Hamilton, Leadheiser, and Rostam. The song is called When the Truth Is. It's whatever. But the name of the album is I Had a Dream That You Were Mine. And I thought that was kind of fun.
Oh, is that Rostam Batmanjani?
Yeah.
From Vampire Weekend?
Yes.
I've heard that album. That's really good.
Yeah, it is really good, which since I hate Vampire Weekend, it's surprising. But no, it's really good, and I just love it. I Had a Dream That You Were Mine is the album name.
Nice.
So,
good pull.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the third episode of Barry in season 1. Go on to the episode 4, which starts getting a little bonkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go to SoundCloud if you want to talk about this episode, and we can interact if you see something that we didn't, or if you disagree with something that we did.
Yeah. So we officially have SoundCloud set up for this.
Yes.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. It's Chris Atkins and Barrett Scher and Mike Hester. We'll see you next time.